About.
All right, welcome everybody. Good to see all of you, and thank you to Andrea for always finding the right song. That's how we started the Minyan Tzedek meeting last night, and it just struck me that I don't know if Tracy Chapman knew that she was writing for this moment, but she was writing for this moment. So hi everyone. It's good to see all of your faces. I'm really excited about diving into some really good learning with you today. This is a narrative from the Gemara that just really struck me in the middle of the night about a week and a half ago, as I've been processing, growing, reading, learning over the course of the last several weeks and the last several months. And so I woke up in the morning and I was talking about a revolution and a revolution of the soul and the spirit, in addition to a revolution in our society. And so what I wanted to do was really look through this text together, but it is intended as a gift for our souls. I think especially in times of so much upheaval, it's sometimes really helpful to do a deep dive backwards into our tradition, into the sacred wisdom of our past, and to see what those whispers are that come from generations before. So let's treat this as an hour that is a gift for our souls and spirit. I know a lot of movement people took a few days off this week. A lot of my friends went for long drives to places where they had no Wi-Fi connectivity because they've been fighting and working so hard for so long, and they need a little bit of a break. This is our little bit of a break for the soul today. So welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. The title of this session is I Have Grown Years in a Matter of Days. And we're going to be looking together at a text from Brachot. And the deeper I look at this text, like so many of our ancient texts, the more I see in it. And I certainly saw a lot today in preparation for this that I had never noticed before. So I'm really thrilled to be able to look at this with all of you. Before we go into the text, I want to start with the question that Adam Weissman actually started or brought to the Minyan Tzedek gathering last night. And I know a number of you who are here now were also there. And you might find yourself answering in a similar way or in a different way than you did last night. This was in response to what I shared on Shabbat about where I made reference to the story that we're going to learn a little bit more deeply today. And I said that I felt that I had done many years of learning in the space of only a couple of days. And Adam, before breaking us up into small groups, asked all of us to consider what we see differently now than we saw before. And so I want to ask you to think about that. And if you can take a moment, we'll have just a minute or 2 minutes of quiet, and you can write into the chat if your perspective on the world has changed, has shifted in the course of the last couple of weeks. And if so, what do you see now that you couldn't see before? I'm always so struck by that quote from Arundhati Roy that says, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And there's this way in our culture that there are all kinds of signs and signals all around us that we don't notice until we do. And then once we see them everywhere, and we can't not see them. I'll give you one very, very small example, but have you seen, are you familiar with the word BIPOC or BIPOC? So for years, we've been calling people of color POC, people of color. And then for the last couple of years, people have been using BIPOC, but it seems like in the last 2 weeks, people started noticing it. And they said, what does it mean, BIPOC? It means Black and Indigenous and people of color. And because there was this idea that the broad category of people of color wasn't giving enough of an affirmation that Black people in this country and Indigenous people in this country have a very different experience than other people of color. All people of color have different experiences from each other, but there was a need to articulate that difference even in the broad categorizing of people. So now you'll see everywhere BIPOC or BIPOC, I think it's pronounced. So if somebody knows differently, please share. So, you know, I mean, I don't know when the first time is that I saw that, but now it's everywhere. I see it everywhere. So that's a very small thing. That's a semantic thing, but there are also broad revelations that we're having, ways in which we see the world that we simply didn't see it that way before. Many people have talked about and described this feeling of a veil being lifted. I see it now. There's some sense that in the public witnessing of the murder of George Floyd, that eyes were opened across this country to see things that many people for many years were not able to see before, even for people, many of whom have been in the work for a really long time, but didn't see it the way that they now see it. So I just want to invite you to take a moment, and I will be quiet for 1 minute. I know such a thing is possible. And I invite you to take a moment and write, what do you see now that you did not see before? You can keep writing if you haven't yet, but I want to share a couple that have been written into the chat. Michael Mendelson, who said that he sees God's hand in the world in a way that perhaps he didn't before. David Kurtz sees the younger generation rising up to be heard. Michael Cohen, how systemic issues in American policing are. It really does no longer seem like a few bad officers. It seems like an entirely unjust and racist system. And there are many more here. So I want to invite you to take some time over the course of our learning together and add your voice to this list. And perhaps we'll be able to go back and look at and read all of them after or as we go through our learning. So thank you to all of you for beginning by opening your hearts to share what you are seeing. This is the text that I'm going to share with you. Let me pull it up for you here. Hold on. I'm going to also put it. I'm going to put this in the chat for you so that you can read it at your own pace if you like. It's also, it's very long, so don't be scared. We'll make it through. We're not going to do absolutely every word of this, but I wanted you to have the full text in case you would like to learn it more fully and a little bit more slowly later. Okay, so here we go. Okay, can you see it? Okay, great. So again, it's called I Have Grown Years in a Matter of Days. So here's the background to this incredible narrative arc that we're about to see. So this is a few years after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, after the destruction of the temple. as we have discussed before, when we looked in particular at the story of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and how he escaped besieged Jerusalem and made his way out of the city before it was destroyed, he was granted permission by Vespasian Caesar to go to Yavne with some of his students and to really reestablish Jewish life in Yavne. And what he built there became the foundation of rabbinic Judaism as we know it. So some years after that happened, a little more than 10 years after that happened, what we see in Yavne is that Rabbi Gamliel is the leader of the Jewish community that is there, of the rabbinic community. His position is the Nasi, and he is, as you'll see in a couple of minutes, he is a ruler who rules with a very heavy hand. And there are many reasons why he might do this. It is true that they are living with incredible trauma that comes from the destruction that just happened. Not only the destruction of the temple and of Jerusalem, but the death, the murder of so many of the people from the community, the enslavement, the exile, but they also still live in a very precarious relationship with their overlords. And so he believes, and his ruling philosophy is that you have to hold tight control over the people. And that's an important foundation for what we're going to see here. And in fact, I'm going to I think it will be easier if I share it with you this way. So we're gonna learn this out in the English with occasional reference to the Aramaic and to the Hebrew in certain cases. So we'll learn it from here, but you can reference it in the version that I sent you. Didn't mean to do that. You can reference it in the original text if you'd like. Okay, so it starts with a controversy, with a very simple halachic question. In the text, it says, Tfilat ha'erev ein la keva. It says, Mariv, the evening service, it doesn't have a fixed time. It doesn't have a fixed or specific hour. So the rabbis asked, well, what do you mean it's not fixed? And we see through this, through the controversy that emerges here, that there are really two different perspectives of what the rabbis might mean when they say that Mariv, the evening service, doesn't have a fixed time. It could either mean that the evening service could be said anytime throughout the night. You can say it right at nightfall. You can say it up until just before the break of dawn. Or it means Tfilat ha'erev ein la keva, that Mariv itself is not fixed or is not established, meaning it is an optional service itself. So Shacharit and Mincha, the morning and the afternoon services, are obligatory. You have to say them. But Mariv, the evening service, is not obligatory, and you don't have to say it. This is a long-standing debate, as you'll see. I'm going to take us through this very quickly. Rav and Shmuel, you can see that many rabbis over the course of generations actually have different views on this. And Rabban Gamliel believes that it's obligatory, that Mariv is obligatory. Rabbi Yoshua, however, says that it's not obligatory, it's optional. By the way, one of the reasons that some of the rabbis hold that it's optional is because it was considered that dangerous to go join a minyan at night when it was dark out, because how would you get home safely? And so what does it mean to place before the people a religious obligation that would actually endanger their lives to fulfill? And so some say that that's the reason why it was considered optional and not obligatory. But Rabban Gamliel says that it is obligatory. And Abaye agrees with him, but Rava agrees with Rabbi Yoshua. So there's a dispute, and it's a legitimate dispute between rabbis over a simple halachic question: is Mariv, is the evening service obligatory or optional? Now, a student, all of this is a backdrop for the story that's about to unfold before us. So a student goes to Rabbi Yoshua and asks him the question, so do I have to say Mariv or not? Is it optional or is it obligatory? And Rabbi Yoshua says his position, which is it's optional. That's his view. That same student then went to Rabban Gamliel and says, is it optional or is it obligatory? This is like the the kid who goes to one parent and then gets one answer and then goes to another parent and gets the opposite answer. Although it's kind of the inverse of that, because the lenient parent was first. So usually you'd see the kid run away saying, great, now I don't have to do Mariv. But instead he goes to Rabban Gamliel and asks Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel says, no, you're obligated. You have to pray the evening service. So the student then says to Rabban Gamliel, but wait a minute, Rabbi Yoshua told me that it was optional. And Rabban Gamliel is very upset because, as I told you, he likes to run a tight ship. And so I'm going to push my, I want to make sure that I can see if there are chats coming in, since I cannot see most of your faces. Unless the Barbaras, who I can see both of you, want to be the representatives. So if there's some need to intervene, show me with your eyes. Okay, so Rabban Gamliel is very upset because he has a view and he's the boss, and he says that the view is that it's obligatory, but Rabbi Yoshua is out there telling students that it's optional. So Rabban Gamliel turns to this student and he says, wait until the masters of shields enter the place. Wait until the masters of the shields enter the study hall, at which point we will have a discussion about the issue. So I pause for a moment. Who are the masters of the shields? The commentary here says, this is a reference to the Torah scholars who battle in the war of Torah. I'm gonna pause us for a moment because I just moments ago finished hearing the daily today, which was about the most recent police shooting in Atlanta of the killing of Rayshard Brooks. And one of the people who was interviewed toward the end said that there really are two fundamentally different understandings of the role of the police. One of them is the warrior police officer, and one of them is the guardian police officer. And I thought of this Gemara, and the commentator said that there's a totally different mentality that comes with different ideas about policing. If you are gearing up every morning to go out and be a warrior on the streets, then your approach is fundamentally different than if you're gearing up to go and guard and protect and care for people on the street. And that in some way, that is that philosophical difference might be at the heart of some of the problems that we're now seeing manifest on the street. Of course, it made me think of this because you have to wonder, why are there in Rabban Gamliel's Beit Midrash study hall, why are there masters of the shields? Why are we giving this Balei Trisim? Why are we giving the moniker of warrior to the students of Torah who are coming in to learn and to teach? So keep that in the back of your mind as we go deeper into this story. The masters of the shields enter the place, and the questioner, the student who had gone first to Rabbi Yoshua, then to Rabban Gamliel, comes and stands in front of everyone now and asks the same question that he had asked. Is the prayer optional or is it obligatory? Rabban Gamliel, because he is in charge of the Beit Midrash, Rabban Gamliel answers, it's obligatory. Now, then Rabban Gamliel wants to catch Rabbi Yoshua, because remember, he's ruling with a tight fist, and he doesn't want to have anyone in his midst who is dissenting. And so he asks to all of the sages, does anyone disagree with me here? Does anyone in this room now believe that it's optional when I'm telling you that it's obligatory? And everybody says, no, we're with you, including Rabbi Yoshua himself, because Rabbi Yoshua does not want to go head-to-head with Rabban Gamliel. But that's not good enough for Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel then turns to Rabbi Yoshua in front of everyone and says, oh, really? Rabbi Yoshua, you would disagree with me now? But this student told me that you told him that the prayer was optional. They're having now a public confrontation in front of everyone. And Rabban Gamliel says to Rabbi Yoshua, stand up. And Rabbi Yoshua he's older. He is and so he stands up on his feet. He says, stand up, because now they will testify against you. We will prove now that you are wrong in front of all of these people. So Rabbi Yoshua stands up and he says, you know what? I am not going to lie. If this guy were no longer alive who had asked me this question, then I might be able to say, I never said it was optional, but he's right here and he's testifying that I said it. And in fact, I said it. So I admit it. I contradicted the will of the Nasi of Rabban Gamliel. And I'm sorry. I admit that I did that I did this thing. Okay. Now that could be the end of the story, in which case we wouldn't be bringing it today, because that has, I think, not as much relevance to the moment that we're living in right now. But then the story goes on. I'm going to take us down a little bit further. You with me? Are folks with me? Okay, the barbers are with me. Okay, so now the story goes on. In the meantime, so Rabban Gamliel continues to give his lecture, but Rabbi Yoshua is still standing on his feet, because you're not allowed to sit down until the Nasi, who's called you to your feet, gives you permission to take a seat. And so he's standing. And I told you, I mean, Rabbi Yoshua is a beloved rabbi, and he's older, and this is starting to feel like an act of great disrespect. He's now being more than humbled. He's actually being shamed. And people are getting really upset about it. And if you look here a few lines down, it says, all of the people assembled begin murmuring. And the language is kol ha'am, all of the people. Now, it's possible that this is some kind of public lecture that's being given where there are lots of people who are there and who are present. So they start murmuring, and they say to, there's someone named Chutzpit, who is the translator, who, it's not exactly translator. They call it the disseminator here, which is a good, which is better. You know, when you're at a rally and one person is speaking and then everyone repeats what the person said, they're like the public microphone. So that's what would happen in this place too. They didn't have microphones. So Rabban Gamliel would teach, and then Chutzpit, who had a big loud voice, would shout it so that everybody could hear it. But the people are getting really upset because Rabbi Yoshua is being shamed. And so they basically go to Chutzpit and they say, stop, we don't want to hear any more of Rabban Gamliel's lecture about whatever it is he's teaching. So instead, they tell him to stop, and he stops. And then they say, how long will it be that Rabban Gamliel is going to continue humiliating this person? And by the way, this isn't the first time that Rabban Gamliel, the great Rabban Gamliel, has humiliated someone. Last year, remember what happened last year on Rosh Hashanah? He humiliated Rabbi Yoshua on Rosh Hashanah. That's a story for another time. And then there was another time with Rabbi Tzadok where he humiliated Rabbi Tzadok, and he forced Rabbi Tzadok to stay standing until he was totally shamed. And now he's doing it again. We've lost our faith in him as a leader. Rabban Gamliel's done. Let's remove him. We don't want him as the Nasi anymore. And the people say this, and the rabbis basically agree. And so they say, okay, the people have lost faith in this ruler, but who shall we establish in his place? And the reason that I'm going through this whole narrative and not just starting the story here where we could have started the story is because I think that even in the way that the narrative builds to this point, you can see a number of themes that I think are very relevant to what leadership looks like and means to this day, and how we deal with conflict in public and in private, and what it means to disagree with someone and what it means to shame someone. And now the rabbis agree that this man has lost his credibility, that Rabban Gamliel, as powerful and important as he is, it's too much. He's done too much damage. So then they ask the question, who shall we establish in his place? Before we go here, I'm going to pause for a second so I can see if you have any questions or thoughts as we go into this next piece of the narrative. Are people with me here? Okay. I see lots of nodding heads. Shall we just go on? Okay. Thank you, Yonatan. Okay. We're going back in. Okay, so watch this. My chat is now in the way. Okay. So now they need a new leader. So they say, who shall we establish as the new leader in this place? And they go through, we're not going to go in detail into this piece here. Maybe it should be Rabbi Yoshua who comes in his place, because Rabbi Yoshua is brilliant and he's humble, and except for the fact that he's nogea b'davar, he's too entrenched in the matter. We don't want it to be Rabbi Yoshua. Maybe it should be Rabbi Akiva. No, it can't be Rabbi Akiva, because he's not protected by the ancestors. He doesn't come from top lineage, and therefore if Rabban Gamliel's really angry at him, he's going to turn on him, and we can't necessarily protect him. Anyway, they go through a number of options, and they land on this guy named Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who I cited this past Shabbat. And they determine that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is the right person to take the place of Rabban Gamliel for 3 reasons. He is wise, he's rich, and he comes from good family. He's a 10th generation descendant of Ezra. Why does that matter? Because it matters that he's wise, because he has to know Torah, because Rabban Gamliel or anyone else could raise a challenge to him, and he has to be able to answer it. So he's got the wisdom. He's wealthy, so if Caesar, because remember, there's still an occupying army that's controlling the lives of the people. If Caesar, comes here and we have to pay off Caesar to buy our, more of our, to buy our continued right to exist, well, he's got money, so he could pay for it. And he's a 10th generation descendant of Ezra, so his ancestry will protect him. So essentially, they go to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and they ask him. Now, this is a crisis moment. Remember, we're only a few years post-destruction. The Jewish community is incredibly fragile. And we have just determined that because Rabban Gamliel's leadership is a leadership of humiliation and public shaming, that he no longer deserves to be leader. But we need a leader desperately. Otherwise, Judaism's going to dissolve, and then we won't be able to build Ikar in 2,000 years, because there won't be a Jewish life anywhere. So they go to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and they say to him, would you consider becoming the Rosh Yeshiva? Would you step into this role of leadership? We desperately need you. And the first thing that he says, it's so interesting. This is his immediate reaction. It says, Amar lehu, Azil v'imlich b'inshe veto. Let me go talk to my wife about it. Okay, let me go consult with my partner. And I love that. And so anyway, he goes to consult with the people in his home, which at this point is just his wife. And she says to him, you need to be really careful right now, because how do you know they're not going to do to you tomorrow what they just did to Rabban Gamliel today? And he answers with this really brilliant folk saying, according to our commentator here, let a person use an expensive goblet for one day and then break it tomorrow. It's better to have this experience and this opportunity, even if it doesn't last forever. I at least want to have the moment now. And that's powerful. And she's compelled by that reasoning. But she comes back to him with one more challenge. And she says to him, listen, you're too young for this. You can't take this on. And when she says that, we learn that in fact, he was very, very young to take on this position of leadership. He was only 18 years old. Okay. Now, as somebody pointed out, I think when I was talking about this, on Shabbat, somebody said, I know where I mentioned this at the board meeting, and somebody wrote, I'm most troubled in this story by the fact that he was married at 18 years old. Okay, so that's the way things were then, and some people still today get married at 18 years old. But he was only 18 years old, and his wife is very concerned, and she says, you're too young to take all of this on. And Rashi tells us also he really angst about it then. He basically stays up all night saying to his wife, I don't know if I can do this. I am too young. But then when he wakes up in the morning, a miracle has transpired for him, and he now has 18 rows of white hair in his beard. Okay. So, okay, you're only 18, but look at the gravitas that you appear to hold now. Anyone who looks at you is going to say, this is a wise old man, which is why in the Haggadah, we hear the story, I am like he said, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, I am like one who is 70 years old. Hare ani keven shivim shana. I am like one who's 70 years old. He doesn't say, I am 70 years old. because he's not. He's 18, but he's like someone who's 70 years old because he both looks like a 70-year-old and, more importantly, for our purposes today, he has acquired overnight the wisdom of many, many years. And all of the sudden, in the reason he's quoted in the Haggadah is because in that moment, he understands Torah in a way that he never understood it before. And there's a very particular passage of Torah that he begins to understand. The question that they're asking, which you might remember from the Passover Seder, the question that he's asking is, do we need to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, in the night or only in the day? And he never understood it before, but all of a sudden, after that long night of anguish, when he wakes up and he looks like an old man, he has a totally different understanding of the world. And in that moment, he realizes that we must remember the Exodus from Egypt not only in the day, but also in the night. Pause for a second to reflect on why it is that particular Torah that he, with the wisdom of the ages, begins to understand. I wonder if anyone has a thought about that. Why does that Torah actually matter in this moment? The question, again, I'll just raise it for you, but the question that's being asked is, do you need to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt, only in the day or also in the night? And what he realizes, once the veil is lifted for him, as the veil continues to be lifted for so many of us, what he realizes is, now I understand why we need that Torah also in the night and not only in the day. Does anyone have a drash for us here? What could that mean? RBZ. I can't.
Okay, I just got it. I think about what nighttime is, and that's like another life, and it's sort of could be a dark side. So if we actually do our prayers and connect to the Holy One, we are released from that bond of wrestling. We might have some deep sleep and clarity in our when we wake up in the morning again.
That's great. That's great, Barbara. Thank you. Another thought? Anyone have another thought about that? Yonatan. Hi.
Yeah, the day was when we actually became free from Egypt, but the night of the first Passover was when we decided that we would become free. So there's a very conscious transformation that's happening.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. I don't see any other hands up right now. Oh, Anita. I'm gonna
mute. Yeah. We're more vulnerable in the night. Part of what I'm thinking is the time that people that I know who have been assaulted are most afraid, and may need more comforting, more support, more of a guardian.
That's great. I think that's right. Okay, last one. I saw that Paul had a hand, and then we'll go back to the text. Paul?
Simply that it is so important, we should never forget it, day or night.
It's the most important Torah. There's no time when you don't need it. And thank you, Paul. And let me just also add that, that when is it most important that we remember that redemption is possible? In the dark times. That's what he realized when the veil was lifted for him. That's what the 18 rows of white hair revealed for him, that we need the messages of hope and redemption and possibility, not only when things are looking up, but precisely when things are hard. That's when we need the message that things will change and things will get better, that redemption is actually possible. And I love what Yonatan said, that even though we started walking in the morning, we went through the process, the acceptance of the beginning of the path of liberation at night, the night before, when the death of the firstborn was happening during that first Seder night. So I love that that's what he realizes. And if you think about what Anita said, what Yonatan said, like a number of what Rabbi Barber said, vulnerability, redemption, hope, those are the things that are revealed for Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah when he ages years in the matter of days. And so when I started by asking you, what have you learned in a matter of days that makes you feel like you have grown years? This is what he learned in a matter of days. These are the kinds of realizations that come with the awakenings that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah went through, and that we too are also going through. So now let me continue the story, and then we're going to talk about all of it together, because something very important, we could end the story here and just say that sometimes in life, there are moments when, because of the particular confluence of crises, we are open in a way that we were not open before. And so we start to see and hear and reflect on things that were always around us, but that we didn't notice. And in this particular moment, with the multiplicity of crises that are upon us, we certainly are able to see things that we could not see before. And that could be the end of the story. Like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah before us, sometimes you grow years in a matter of days. That's good Torah, right? We know that it's true. But the story goes on and makes it even better Torah. So let's see where we go from here. Okay, so we are continuing. Take your time and go through this slowly later. It's really good. Okay, there's a reason some books are still in print for 2,000 years. So this is one of them. Okay, so then what happens? He wakes up, he has gray hair, and he becomes the leader in the place of Rabban Gamliel. And not only does he become the leader, but it is immediately apparent that there is a profound difference in the approach that this young guy has to leading the people than the approach that Rabban Gamliel before him had. So what does he do? The first thing he does is he dismisses the guard who's standing at the door. Why is there a guard standing at the entrance of the Beit Midrash? I'm unsharing for a second. I want to hear what you think about that. Why in Rabban Gamliel's Beit Midrash do we have a police officer standing at the door? Anyone have an idea? Who are we keeping out? Wendy Becker.
Anybody who might disagree with him or who he feels may give him a hard time about his feelings. He's very insecure, very opinionated man.
Okay, he doesn't want the dissenting voice in his space. It could be about dissent. He puts a police officer there who's going to stop people from challenging him. What other options are there? What other possibilities are there here? Why else is there a guard at the door? I see Matt Silverstein.
He thinks he's protecting the Torah from those who don't deserve it or who won't treat it perfectly. All of his stuff seems to be making, he is a wall.
Okay.
He thinks that you wall off the Torah in order to protect it.
Yeah, and Matt, what I love about what you're saying is he legitimately believes that what he's doing is for the best interest of the Torah and the people. He really believes that. The reason he's ruling with an iron fist, and you'll see in a moment that he really believes that, is because he really wants Torah to survive. And he wants the Jewish people to survive. But the way that he's doing it is creating a kind of climate, an environment of fear, of shame, and of humiliation that is not the most fruitful environment for learning to actually transpire. And we're going to see how that plays out now. So he puts a shomer, a guard, at the door in order to block maybe people with dissenting views, maybe people who are going to try to turn the conversation away from Torah. Maybe they're because of the Roman overlords, the occupying presence. I mean, maybe they're there in order to keep the people safe inside. I don't know. But there's a guard who's there. And the first thing that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah does, 18, but like 70 years old, is he dismisses, I'm sure with a lovely compensatory package to the officer who was standing at the guarding at the door, he dismisses the officer. And then he grants permission for the students to enter. But he has a different approach to who gets to enter this place. Not only does he let the guard go, but he is inviting into this place people who never before have been permitted to enter into this place. What do we mean by that? Well, Rabbi Gamliel had a very strict policy of who would gain admission into the Beit Midrash. Kol talmid she'ein tocho kavaro, any student whose inside was not like his outside, lo yikanes lebeit midrash, was not allowed to enter into Rabbi Gamliel's Beit Midrash. If your inside did not match your outside, you were not allowed in. Now, we could talk, and especially if we had more than 16 minutes left, we would, a lot about what that meant for Rabbi Gamliel. I would say the most positive read of this is that Rabbi Gamliel had a very high standard for his students, in which he required that who you were spiritually must manifest in who you are out in the world, and vice versa. And if you failed to manifest your best self out in the world, you did not have a seat in his Beit Midrash. He didn't want hypocrites in his house of study. He only wanted people who would be out in the world as they were in their greatest, most aspirational selves. That's not a bad thing. We should aspire to have our outsides match our insides. Toho Kavaro is actually a very high bar, and something that I believe we should all aspire to. But as a result of creating such a high bar for admission, Rabbi Gamliel ended up keeping a lot of students out, which you can see, because on the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah gave a severance package to the police officer and invited in anybody who wanted to come in and study Torah, on that day, several benches were added. Okay, what do we mean by several benches were added? Well, one rabbi, Rabbi Yochanan, says 400 benches were added. 400 benches full of students added to the Beit Midrash. And another rabbi says, no, there were 700 benches added. Okay? Whatever it was, whether it was 400 or 700, it's very clear the Gemara is trying to say to us, guess what? There were lots of people who wanted access to our tradition, who were denied access because of the tight stranglehold that Rabbi Gamliel held, and the guard that he put at the entranceway, literally blocking people who hungered for Torah from coming in and learning, for creating such an impossible bar. We were actually keeping Torah from the people. And by the way, you know, I read this really beautiful commentary about this, and I just want to credit a rabbi named Rabbi Levi Cooper from Pardes, who wrote an essay about this years ago, who said, like, why are we talking about furniture instead of talking about people? Why does it say 400 or 700 benches instead of 3,000 or 5,000 people? I mean, how many people sat on a bench? I don't know. So why are we talking about furniture? And he says, because what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah did, he didn't just swing the doors open. He put down furniture so that the people who came in would have a seat at the table. He didn't make them stand in the back. Now you can come in, but there's really no room for you here. The students who've been sitting at the front in Rabbi Gamliel's Beit Midrash, they still have the right, but you can come in, fine. He said, I am ordering and placing furniture for you here so that, as Reverend Najuma Smith-Pullard said to our community just a couple of Shabbatot ago, they knew and understood they actually had a seat at the table. That Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's approach was so fundamentally different from Rabbi Gamliel's that he literally created space where there was before no space, and he radically changed the conversation. An interesting sidebar here, actually it's not a sidebar. Rabbi Gamliel sees this and he's heartbroken because he realizes, maybe, God forbid, I stopped people from studying Torah who could have studied Torah. And as Matt said earlier, if we give the guy the benefit of the doubt for a minute, maybe he wasn't doing what he was doing because he was a tyrant, but he was doing it because he really believed that that was the best way to preserve Torah. But now he sees it and he's heartbroken because he realizes that he did the wrong thing. This is a revelation. And then, he has a dream, and this might be troubling for us. He has a dream in which he sees these jugs that are filled with ashes, which the rabbis say the dream came to him in order to make him feel not so bad. Like, don't worry, because you're right that toho kavaro is a value, that the insides should match the outsides. Because if you have this beautiful outside, but on the inside, they're not fundamentally, good or spiritually whole, then that is problematic. And Rabban Gamliel feels better about it. But then the rabbis say, like, well, wait a second. Was he actually right, though? And they say, no, the dream came to him just to make him feel a little bit better. Like, Rabban Gamliel's dedicated his life to the Jewish people. He was wrong to close the doors, but we don't want him to hate himself. He did it for the right reasons. Okay, so we're going to make him feel better. But now, thank God, we have the right policy in place where the doors are wide open. There's no guard at the gate. And everybody who wants access to this tradition gets to have access to this tradition. It was only shown to him to ease his mind. But that's not the last of Rabban Gamliel's revelations, because we learned that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's veil was lifted overnight. Rabban Gamliel's veil is also lifted. And it takes a little bit longer. He has to see things in a few different ways to get it. But first he sees that now thousands of people, assume there are 10 people on a bench, 4,000 to 7,000 new students have come into the Beit Midrash and are now learning Torah. That's his first revelation. Then the next day, then we learn that day, an entire tractate, Eduyot, was actually written. On that day, every single time it says, on that day in the Talmud, it's referring to that day. That day when the doors were open and the benches were added, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, with his new wisdom of redemption and vulnerability and possibility, the new Torah that comes to us in these moments when we feel like we're awakened, that Torah is the guiding Torah of the Beit Midrash for the first time, is the most fruitful day in the history of rabbinic Judaism. That's the day that a whole Masechet of Talmud is written. That's the day that thousands of halachot are explained. There was no ruling that day that couldn't be explained, because that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, when he had his open mind and heart, he put that spirit out to the entire community, and everyone was lifted, and everyone started to think a little bit differently and started to open their hearts. And then a story is told about one particular convert who comes and says, can I be part of your community? And Rabban Gamliel says, Rabban Gamliel, who's there, by the way, because there's even room in Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's Beit Midrash, even for Rabban Gamliel. He's not shamed. He shamed Rabbi Yoshua. We're not going to shame him. Come on in. Come on in. You're not in charge anymore, but of course you have a seat in my Beit Midrash. Rabban Gamliel's holding fast to his forbidden and obligatory. And so Rabban Gamliel hears from a convert and says, no, you can't be part of this people. But Rabbi Yoshua says, yes, you can. We embrace you here. We welcome you here. There's a spirit of radical inclusion, radical love, hope, possibility for redemption for all of us that pervades this Beit Midrash in this moment under this leadership with this newly awakened rabbi at the head. And Rabban Gamliel, he sees it. And he realizes that he has been wrong again and again and again. And he says, I got to go apologize because I created an environment of shame and humiliation. My tight grip on power for all the right reasons was the wrong approach. Putting security guards at the gates, blocking off entry, living in a mentality of fear, creating a warlike environment among the scholars. This was the wrong approach. Torah cannot flourish under such an approach. So what does he need to do? He has to go make amends now with Rabbi Yoshua. And when he does that, he learns his third great lesson. He goes to Rabbi Yoshua and he says to him, come down a little bit. I have to go and appease Rabbi Yoshua. So he goes to Rabbi Yoshua's house. And when he sees Rabbi Yoshua, my favorite of all of the rabbis, he sees that Rabbi Yoshua lives in a house in which the walls are black. And he says to Rabbi Yoshua with wonderment, the commentary adds here, from the walls of your house, I can see that you're a blacksmith. I had no idea that you had to engage in that kind of work. I only knew you from the Beit Midrash. I didn't know that you were also a hardworking person, a poor person. You were part of the working poor. And not like me, Rabbi Gamliel, who's inherited wealth, right? Over the generations, inherited positions of leadership. And now I see that you, Rabbi Yeshua, like you, the guy I shamed, I made you stand up in front of everyone, I shamed you. You're working poor. I had no idea. And Rabbi Yeshua says to him, woe unto the generation that had you as its leader. You don't even know what your own students of Torah, who sat with you in the Beit Midrash every single day, you don't even know how we feed ourselves. You don't even understand the struggles of the people. You with your hard, tight grip on power, you with your security guards and with your warrior mentality, you don't even open your heart to the people to understand. And that's when Rabbi Gamliel has his third revelation. When he says, I hurt you. I'm so sorry. It's an incredibly tender moment. He says, Na'aneti lecha, macholi. I get it now. His revelation took longer than Elazar ben Azariah's. Some people, they get it in an instant. They go to bed questioning. They're in anguish. They wake up with the gray hair. Rabbi Gamliel was in charge for a long time before he started to open. And then the opening was like a flowering that took days. It took many incidents in which he realized, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. But he finally gets it. And in one moment, he says, Na'aneti lecha macholi. Please, he says, forgive me. And when he does, first Rabbi Yeshua says, no, you hurt me too badly. You embarrassed me. But then eventually he says, do it. If you don't do it out of respect for me, do it out of respect for my father, who was one of the great leaders of our people at the time the temple was destroyed. And Rabbi Yeshua says, okay, I'm going to stop our share here for now so that we can talk about it, because we only have a few minutes left. And with, if it's okay with all of you, we'll go over a few more minutes. So we'll do this for about 10, 15 minutes so that we can really talk about what the implications are of this text. So he, just to quickly end the story, he goes back. And basically the message is sent to the rabbis, like, Rabbi Gamliel apologized, he got it, folks. And they end up reinstating him in power, but he doesn't get complete power ever again. He shares power with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. They have like a national unity government, and the people live happily ever after, until the next pogrom, as we say. So, okay, so here's what I want to ask you. We started with, in what way has our thinking shifted in the course of this time? In what way have we grown years in the space of days? And I want to continue to lift up that question, but also add to it another question. What is born for us as individuals, for us as a community, and for us as our society when we honor and live into and lean into and build off of those great awakenings that happen in the space of short periods of time, but allow us to see what hasn't been seen before? Because in the case of our rabbis 2,000 years ago, what was born in that moment was an absolute transformation of Jewish and rabbinic life. It was a democratization, a kind of radical democratization. It was a move from warrior to guardian. It was a sense that in this Beit Midrash, everybody has to be welcome, and not only welcome, but given a seat at the table. It was a sense that here we rule not with an iron fist, but here we rule with love. We see people not only for who they are when they appear on the Zoom box in front of us when we're learning together, but for who they are in their times of great struggle too. We see people much more holistically, not only if they hold that something is reshut or chayav, if it's optional or if it's obligatory, but how do they feed themselves and their families? We start to understand the fuller picture of how we care for one another in a society. The story we read from Brachot is a story not only of revelation, one man's revelation that happened in an instant, and one man's revelation that happened over the course of time, but also of a society that's willing to be transformed because it honors those revelations. So I wonder what you think. what happens not only when our thinking shifts, but when we allow ourselves to live as a community and as a society, when we allow ourselves to live into those dramatic, courageous, transformative shifting of ideas that many of us are experiencing in this moment. And what would be possible if we also allowed our own society to be transformed by the radical awakening that's happening to us in the streets across the country and frankly across the world right now? What do you think? Where does this leave you? Or where does this start you, depending on where you are in the conversation? Anshe, hello. There you go.
Hello, it's Inshia actually.
Inshia, thank you.
So I really like how Rabbi Gamliel was able to change after seeing how other people do things. He was able to change from being so abusive and controlling to, more welcoming and willing to work with others. So I feel like that can happen in America too. People just have to be willing to see a different perspective or viewpoint and open to it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for saying that. And it's a good story when it's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's story. And it's an even better story when it's also Rabbi Gamliel's story, because it doesn't come easily to him. He's resistant. He's built his whole life and his career on the assumptions of the old way. And the old way it doesn't work anymore. And he needs to come to that. And it takes layers and layers have to be unpeeled. For some people, the veil's just lifted. For some people, it's like slowly. So I really love that, Inshia. Thank you. Why not here too? And in the end, Rabbi Gamliel is not shamed. He's not exiled. He's not excommunicated. He's invited back in. And together they form a different way forward. And that's a powerful model for us too. That's a model of truth and reconciliation, really. And we've seen this in other countries, right? I mean, started in South Africa, but not only there. That's the function of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That the goal at the end of, after all of this conflict, is we don't want to shame. We want the truth and we want the growth and we want a path toward healing. That is a process that America desperately yearns for right now. Rabbi Seth, hi, you have your hand up.
So it strikes me that at a time when the whole society was suffering so much in the exile, the beginning of the exile, both of these rabbis have their revelations through suffering. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah has his night of inner torment, while Rabbi Gamliel has his shame and his external conflict. And that it's out of the pain of conflict and suffering that awakening and new opportunity arrives.
It's great. I'm sure many of you heard Ta-Nehisi Coates on Ezra Klein. If you haven't yet, Ta-Nehisi Coates was, he famously said to Stephen Colbert years ago when Colbert said to him, do you have any hope for us at all? And he said, I'm so tired of white liberals asking me to be hopeful for them. No, I'm not hopeful. And he said, if you want hope, go to your pastors, go to your friends. Like, my job is to speak the truth, and I am not hopeful. And then on Ezra, that was a couple of years ago, and on Ezra Klein 2 weeks ago, he said he was hopeful. He's hopeful now, right? Because out of all of this conflict, out of all of this pain, something is being born. Something was born for Elazar ben Azariah. Something was born for Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in the story that we read a few weeks ago. Something was born even for Rabbi Gamliel, and something can be born for us as well. Janet Halbert, I see your hand. And if others have comments or questions, feel free to raise your hand. Hi, Janet.
Hi, what was so beautiful about Rabbi Gamliel is to see how he learned how to apologize. And it's such an important lesson. And there's so many things to take away from this learning. But that was one of the things that stood out for me, is that one, that Azariah didn't shame him and excommunicate him, but he gave him the space to learn how to apologize. And then he went and found Yoshua and he apologized. And that's another beautiful takeaway from this. Thank you.
Great. It's great. And Janet, when I read the story, I wanted Rabbi Yoshua to just accept his apology right away, but he doesn't. And I'm glad he doesn't actually now, because he caused a lot of pain. Rabbi Gamliel caused a lot of pain. And so what he's doing is, he's essentially saying, like, it takes time to be able to accept somebody who's hurt you in that way. But ultimately he is brought back into the community. It's like the text that we were looking at from Ta'anit a couple of weeks ago. By the way, all of our classes are posted. And so if you don't come to one of them, if you miss them, or if you want to share something afterwards, you can feel free to go onto our website and find them. But the story of Rabbi Elazar bar Rabbi Shimon, another Rabbi Elazar, and he made a terrible mistake and he humiliated someone. And at first the person doesn't want to forgive him, but he eventually does. And forgiveness takes time. It's a really serious process when real pain has occurred. And in the end, Rabbi Gamliel is invited back into the story of his own people, which I feel is a hopeful sign. David Kurtz, I see your hand up. Hi.
I'm trying to unmute. Do you hear me now?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. It all feels so ocular to me. In order for there to be change, you have to see it. I remember the Vietnam War. We had president after president that just continued it on, and it wasn't until the American people saw it on TV. And here we have, with this new technology, people witnessed what happened to Floyd. So and what I like in this story is the same thing here. The rabbi saw the masses. He saw the benches coming in. He saw that, wow, I'm really out of touch. You need that demonstration of support. So it was very resonant to me.
Great.
Thank you.
So glad. Thank you. I see NC Krantz Fire. Hi. And then I'll go to Hal and Kathy afterwards.
Is this working?
Yes. Hi.
Okay. Hi. The thing that came to mind when you were talking about I originally, I can't give you hope, you have to do that, and then kind of not backtracking, but kind of changing on that. It reminded me that, some people know this, some people don't know this. Martin Luther King recanted his I Have a Dream speech several years after giving it. He said, I was too hopeful, I was too optimistic. The past few years have shown me that I should not have looked at it with such a positive light. And so there was this whole thing in the 60s during the civil rights movement of it wasn't all positive, and there were really things that made things look more grim than they ever had. And then there's so I'm kind of wondering, I don't feel comfortable saying that is undone because one person says I feel hopeful now, but I'm wondering whether this is an opportunity to kind of bring back some of the hope that was lost when King recanted his I Have a Dream speech.
Yeah, I thank you so much for that. I can only tell you that in my conversations with movement people in the Black community who've been in this battle now for their entire lives, I am seeing, and I suspect that many of us are seeing and also feeling ourselves, not optimism, but hope in a way that I have not for many years. And so, yeah, it's true that the sermon that Dr. King was about to deliver before he was assassinated, that he was planning on delivering that Sunday, was called something like America is Going to Hell. And it was, he had this sense of the failure of America to attach itself to the ideals that he'd spent his life preaching. But he also, gave the I have been to the mountaintop sermon right before he died, speech right before he died, and said, I know we will get there. I might not get there with you, but we will get there. And so I think that this might be a shift back towards some of the, toward lifting up some of what might be hopeful. for us to hold on to. I'm going to go to Hal and Kathy, and then I have one closing thought for us before we finish today. Hal and Kathy.
Oh, good. Okay. So I guess I just see this more where we're at now as constructing a new and a different Beit Midrash rather than getting everybody in to the one that already exists. I mean, I think the moment now is about consolidating power to take control back. I don't anticipate that the people who are currently in power and who are losing are going to, have the same kind of change of heart that Rabbi Gamliel did. And nor do I think we should make that necessarily our first priority at this moment. So I mean, I think maybe eventually, but I think the divisions and the hurts or their perceived hurts are much too great. I mean, I think I'm optimistic about the one side, but I'm not optimistic about the reconciliation between the two sides.
I hear that, Hal. I also hold that fear of what is to come here. And I believe that people who've dedicated their entire lives to ideas, to a certain set of ideas, need to see those ideas resoundingly defeated in order to start to move away from them. And so I know that it's not going to be an easy path ahead. And I'm also very concerned about that, and also see that we are in the process of that birthing of something new right now, that moment of transformation. So I was gonna close actually with a quote, quoting Michelle Alexander from a really excellent and important op-ed that she put in the New York Times a couple of days ago. If you haven't seen it, you should, but I will actually, perhaps I'll share some of that in one of our sessions to come. Let me close by saying thank you to all of you. Thank you to Rabbi Barbara Zaki, who sponsors this lunchtime series. As some of you have heard us say, this is the way that we're now able to sustain IKAR, by people making contributions to support our lunchtime learnings, our Friday night services, our Shabbos morning services, etc. So if you're able to, we really appreciate your support. We also have an upcoming game night, and we need our sponsors for that. This is in place of our Party with a Purpose. So if you've been able to sponsor in years past, or even haven't before, but you can help now, we'd be really grateful. So thank you to Rabbi Zaki, and thank you to all of you, because in this time of lifting of veils, as I said, some veils go like this and some veils are going like this. And we're all receiving what's happening in different paces and in different ways. We're seeing it differently. And the fact that we're able to still come together in loving and tender and respectful conversation with each other is a really incredible tribute to the power of community. And I will add, as Michael wrote into the chat earlier, and also a testament to the presence of the Holy One. And I feel so lifted by this sacred time together. So thank you for being a part of this learning. And I look forward to continuing with all of you. We'll see you again soon. My blessings to you all.